Yo, what's up, guys? Unfortunate loss for the Maple Leafs tonight, losing to the Minnesota Wild 6-3. Now, guys, how we feeling about this Leafs loss? I know a really frustrating loss for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Coming off a decent road trip, you could see the Maple Leafs game tonight. They did not look good in this game tonight, guys. They looked tired. They looked flat at times in this game, coming off this road trip, and it's honestly really frustrating as a Leaf fan, knowing how tight the division is right now. That we had a Florida loss today, a Buffalo loss, both them losing in regulation. This was a golden opportunity for the Maple Leafs to win a hockey game, get back into a wild card spot, past Florida, or they're already past Florida, but stay ahead of Florida, get ahead of Buffalo, get into a playoff spot. But tonight was a real missed opportunity for the Maple Leafs, and the game did not start off great for the Leafs. You got Simone Benoit taking a stupid penalty, of course. Minnesota gets on the power play, then they score an easy power play goal with a great play by Kaprizov to Hartman. Then Hartman makes a great pass to Tarasenko in front of the net there to make it 1-0 Leafs, breakdown defensively, of course. They're on the PK, obviously. Nobody's there to defend Tarasenko. Nobody's there to break up the pass, unfortunately. McCabe's a little bit too high. And the Wild take a 1-0 lead. And then McCabe, unfortunately, makes another mistake off a face-off draw. Tries to pass the puck to McMahon. Fans on the pass, loses the puck. Minnesota keeps the puck in their own end, guys, And then, as we saw, Minnesota were able to score again. Just another frustrating goal to give up for the Maple Leafs. You cannot be going down 2-0 like that on self-inflicted wounds. It's just not good enough, man. Inexcusable to me how the Leafs shoot themselves in the foot so many times in a game, by their own mistakes. You cannot be giving up these type of goals. It's just not good enough. Now, I understand that Joel Wall, unfortunately, he hasn't had some great games, but he got hung out to dry on those goals there. They were not good goals, The one play there in front for the second goal with Hartman, he's all alone in front. He's able to beat Wall. He can't do nothing about that. First goal with Tarasenko, he's alone in front. Can't do nothing about that either. And then the third goal, once again, Morgan Riley getting bullied out of position. And then Marcus Foligno tips that stick. It's a great tip by Foligno, don't get me wrong. But Scott Laughton makes a bad play, icing the puck with tired guys on the ice. Tries to make a veteran move, changing his stick, giving them some extra time. Unfortunately, it doesn't work, as we saw. And then, obviously, the play pans out to what I just mentioned there. And Foligno gets the tip to make it 3-0 there, or 3-1 for the Wild after John Tavares had cut it down to 2-1 off the power play there that the Leafs drew. Knives made the great pass to him. Beautiful shot by John Tavares to gut the deficit to 2-1 there. But then after, like I mentioned, we get the Foligno goal. And then after we get Benoit, who doesn't clear out the puck. And then obviously Minnesota's able to cycle it. And then they're able to get another bloody goal by Marcus Foligno, obviously in front of the net there. That's a goal by him. That's one that pissed me off as well. And then don't get me started with the Domi play as well, where Domi tries to flick the puck deep into Minnesota's own end, but flicks it right to Quinn Hughes. The worst bloody player to pass the puck to, and honestly, Quinn Hughes has all day to find Tarasenko to beat Joe Wall. These goals here were all avoidable goals by the Maple Leafs. These are goals you cannot be giving up. Just inexcusable bloody goals for the Leafs. The two tip goals by Foligno, Joe Wall can't do very much. The Tarasenko goals, the first goal, Joe Wall can't do anything about. The second goal, Leafs get caught on a bad line change. And then after we saw Domi turn the puck over there. So the two Tarasenko goals, two Foligno goals. Obviously, he scored an empty netter there to kill the game off after the Leafs made a great push in the third period there after Nick Robertson gets a goal. And then after we saw Matthews get a goal on a breakaway, John Tavares had a great opportunity on a power play, couldn't score there. And then, unfortunately, Minnesota was just the better team in this game. Guys, Minnesota controlled the game. They just have the better defensemen, of course. They had more O-zone time. The Leafs barely had any O-zone time. They got dominated in that second period. The shots were 20-8. One of the only lines that really did anything tonight was, again, the third line of Cowan, Waugh, and Robertson. Those were the only guys that were really generating anything, except for Matthews on the first line, who had that great opportunity in the first period where he drove to the front of the net there, but unfortunately, he didn't score. But that third line there again was very effective tonight in this hockey game. Gave the Leafs some very dangerous opportunities. Easton Cowan had a chance with a backhander, missed a wide open net. Nick Waugh had a couple chances. Robertson did as well. Those guys there were generating some good chances for the Maple Leafs. I thought Michelli had an okay game. Not one of his best games compared to other games that he had. Matthews has been playing great still, getting another goal tonight, like I mentioned, guys. 11 goals in 12 games. He's been on absolute fire for the Maple Leafs, and we wouldn't be in the position we are in now if it wasn't for him. But we are going to get ourselves out of the position we're in if we have performances like we did tonight. Joe Wall has not played great the last couple games. I think he's been suspect. Jake McCabe has not had a few great games. I thought Benoit had a very weak night. We all know what Morgan Riley's all about. We all know that he is not the best defenseman out there. And then, speaking of Morgan Riley, watching Quinn Hughes tonight, my God, man, what a stud this guy is. That guy there shows you what a number one defenseman is like. Quinn Hughes, this guy here is an absolute beast. He has broken the record for most amount of points in a Minnesota jersey in the first 20 games as a Wild. This guy here has 22 points in 20 games for the Wild. Absolutely insane numbers by Quinn Hughes. This guy here, he can move the puck, he can skate, he can shoot. He is such an incredible player. And then you got a guy like Brock Faber as well on top of it too. You got two defensemen that log over 23 minutes. Hughes averages 28. He played 26 tonight. And Faber played 24. When you got two horses like that on the back end, no wonder why Minnesota is one of the best teams in the league. I am very jealous that the Minnesota Wild have some bona fide studs in the back end there. And then I got to watch guys like Morgan Bloody Riley play for my team. It's honestly sickening to me. And don't even get me started on what else that sickens me. Minnesota had 5 very important players out of their lineup tonight. You got a guy like Matt Boldy, who's got 22 points in 20 games. He didn't play tonight. Zach Bogosian didn't play tonight. No Brodin, no Eriksson Ek, and then no Johansson. They were missing most of their second line and a couple D. And Minnesota played like this tonight. Not good enough by the Maple Leafs. Minnesota was the better team through 2 periods. I thought the Leafs were the better team in the third, but ironically enough, it's after you're down 5-1. The effort wasn't good enough in the first 2 periods by the Maple Leafs, and that's what pisses me off. It's where the hell was this effort in the first and second compared to the third? The third period, I thought the Leafs were the way better team. Just Minnesota was able to control it at the end there and get the empty net goal there. The lead was already too big enough for the Leafs to come back. There was no way in hell that Minnesota were giving up 4 goals. I just didn't see it. They're just too solid of a team, too solid defensively, have some real horses up top, like guys like Kaprizov. Marcus Foligno, of course, decides to have his first career hat trick coming home to Toronto, ironically, with his father, Mike Foligno, in the stands. It's ironic, honestly. It was just not a good night by the Maple Leafs. Got dominated in their own end. Minnesota kept them pinned deep in their own end. Minnesota dominated ozone time, prevented the Leafs from getting any ozone time. They were able to break out of their own end easily. The Leafs let Minnesota break it to their own end too easily. It was just too many defensive breakdowns tonight. Too many individual errors by guys like Max Domi, who makes that stupid dump into the ice there. That's not deep enough. Benoit turns the puck over. McCabe turns the puck over. Those are 3 plays there that all led to goals. You take some stupid penalties on top of it, and it's a recipe for disaster, obviously. Domi made the great pass to Matthews. Sure, but unfortunately, the bad outweighs the good when you lose these type of hockey games, guys. When the games are so tight right now, Domi said it himself after the game against Winnipeg. Every game's a playoff game now because every point, every game matters, and it's true. Like I mentioned, Buffalo and Florida losing tonight and the Leafs not taking advantage of it was huge. Fall back into a wild card spot, and now you're still out of it, looking on the outside, looking in, So, and you got some frustrating games coming up as well. Not easy games. You got Detroit coming up, who lead the division with Tampa, obviously. You got Vegas on Friday. You got Colorado on Sunday. Then you got Buffalo. Jesus, Murphy, it don't get any easier. And obviously, without William Nylander not being in the lineup, of course, Matthew Knies was a game-time decision. Luckily enough, he played. He made the great assist to John Tavares tonight. But we all know why Knies now has not been playing great. He's dealing with some nagging type of injury. Willie's obviously out right now, so you're having 2 dynamic players, one not playing and one who's playing injured. The Leafs weren't going to get much tonight from their forward lines because Minnesota have the great defensemen. You got the forward lines there that just weren't generating enough because Minnesota was shutting them down. Gustafsson is a solid goaltender on top of it all, guys. Even though the Leafs were able to score some goals in the third, get a power play goal on top of it, the effort wasn't there tonight for 60 minutes, guys. It was only there for 20. We needed to be there for 60. Every game matters, like I mentioned. This is just an unfortunate loss for the Leafs tonight, a squandered opportunity. Minnesota, they got some horses on their team, and they're a solid team, It's really unfortunate that they got to go up against the Dallas Stars in the first round, most likely. That's going to be an incredible series, man. But Minnesota, like I mentioned, they got injuries of their own. They played a great game tonight, but we're going to need the Wild to do us a favor tomorrow. They play the Habs tomorrow night. Hopefully they get 2 points there. Unfortunately, wish we got 2 points tonight, but the Leafs' effort wasn't good enough tonight. Like I mentioned, some stupid penalties on top of it. Easton Cowan taking another stupid penalty in the offensive zone, guys. That type of shit will drive a coach nuts. You saw Berube pissed off. Some stupid penalties were taken. Like I mentioned, individual errors in this hockey game cost the Maple Leafs. Joe Woll has not had some good games as of late. The last 2 games have not been great after having a 9-1-1 record the last 11 before these 2 games. Like I mentioned, McCabe didn't have a great week out west, and tonight as well. Just some unfortunate games tonight by the Leafs. And listen, Minnesota, guys, have scored 5 goals plus in 8 of their last 10 victories. They are a high-scoring team, not only from the forward lines, but from the back end as well. They got a lot of dogs on their team, guys. They just have some better players than the Leafs. I'm not saying they're a better team than the Leafs, but they might be. But the Leafs tonight, guys, they did not have it tonight. We know that the Leafs can compete with the big dogs. We saw they played against Colorado. Tonight, they didn't have it. It was just one of those games tonight. But unfortunately, you cannot continue to have these games once every 2 to 3 games because if that continues, you will not make the playoffs. And if they continue to play this way, inconsistent like this, win a game or 2, lose a game here, win a game, lose a game, you're not going to make the playoffs that way. They got to continue to stay consistent like they did a few weeks ago. Continue to get wins in the win column. You got to play tighter defensively. Got to get some better goaltending from Joe Woll. Hildeby came and did a good job in the third period. Didn't get tested much in the third period, but I thought the Leafs played well in the third. Just the effort was too little, too late by the Toronto Maple Leafs, guys. So I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on this game tonight, guys. An unfortunate loss for the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight, guys. A lot of mistakes by individuals. Some stupid penalties like I mentioned. Minnesota, man, just a solid team right now. And the Leafs got to get back on the horse there. They got to beat Detroit on Wednesday to stay near the wild card spot, guys, and maybe even the division. But we'll love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this game tonight, guys. Click like this video. Subscribe if you guys want to see more content. Go Leafs, go as always, guys. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Leafs Unfiltered. Ciao, guys.